Today we have news from Kawasaki. This is a brand new 2025 Kawasaki W230. This is a motorcycle that they already showed off for overseas market, but it is confirmed coming here to the States.
Yeah, and Kawasaki announced a couple of bikes today actually, but this is the one that caught our eye because it is all new. We love small displacement stuff. We love classic styled stuff. So if you want to see all the bikes that Kawasaki came out with, head over to their website at the end of this video, but this is the one that stood out to us, so we're going to bring you all the information on it.
Yeah, and starting with style, this is a very retro-styled bike, so that's going to place it in a now increasingly competitive part of the market. And we'll talk about some other bikes that this motorcycle competes with in a moment, but what did they style this bike after?
It's supposed to resemble the 1965 650-W1, and you can see that all over the bike. It's really hard to find any mention of Kawasaki on this motorcycle. All the branding is W branding, and if you weren't in the know, you really wouldn't have any idea that this is a Kawasaki. And a lot of the focus on this bike, like a lot of classic styled bikes, comes down to the engine cases, and what's actually powering this bike.
Yeah, and they have also put black paint over the cylinder like on that old 650 model, so they've made it kind of a classically styled engine. It's a very similar shape as well. They've also given it a pea shooter style exhaust, so a very retro look there. We've also got analog tach and speedo dials, dual dials up on the handlebars that look really good, but still a little bit of technology. We do have ABS, that comes standard, and we also got an LED headlight on the bike, so it's not completely old school.
Yeah, you've got the modern things you need to see to stop all that. I gotta say the tach and speedo dials on the front is one of my favorite parts of this bike. Also that kind of classic flat seat, the one-piece seat design. They nailed the styling on this. It looks like what it's supposed to. And if you're looking for a classically styled cruiser, small displacement, this is definitely one you should be looking at. But let's talk a little bit about this engine.
Yeah, so as far as power goes, doesn't seem like there's tons of it. It's a 233cc air-cooled four-stroke single-cylinder engine. It's a very similar engine to what you'll find in a KLX 230. Different side covers, different compression, but the same bore and stroke. And it is fuel injected, 6-speed transmission. Kawasaki doesn't publish horsepower figures, but they say 14 pound-feet of torque. And the KLX 230 makes around 17 horsepower. Again, this is lower compression, so maybe a little less than that. But yeah, it's not a powerhouse of a motor. And as far as the motorcycles it competes with, it being 233 cc's, places it in the smaller end of the spectrum.
Yeah, there's some bikes we're going to talk about at the end of this video that you might cross-shop with this bike, but both of those bikes that we're going to mention are bigger displacement, more power. So this is definitely on the lower end of the spectrum, but still, if you live somewhere like we do around Boulder, Colorado, this would be a great bike getting from stoplight to stoplight for a new rider. I think it's really compelling, even with that small displacement 233cc engine.
Yeah, definitely make for more of a city bike than a highway bike or anything that's going to do high speeds. As far as suspension goes, we have 37 millimeter forks up front. They're not inverted forks, they're standard upright forks. And then we've got twin shocks in the rear. Again, very retro. There is some preload adjustment there, but not a lot of adjustability. Really not a super sophisticated suspension system, partly, we would imagine, to keep the price down.
Yeah, definitely for cost, and most riders who are going to jump on this bike wouldn't necessarily feel a difference in a nice premium suspension anyway, and then the bike would be much more expensive. Those twin shocks, awesome for the style of this bike though. So maybe they're not, the most performance happy shock out there, but it definitely matches the look of this bike. And then moving on to brakes, you have a single-sided disc up front, which Kawasaki will tell you is for style, to match the old school style. It's also for cost.
Yeah.
But that's a 265 millimeter disc up front with a dual piston caliper. In the rear, you have a single 220 millimeter disc with a single piston caliper, and ABS is standard across all these bikes, which I think is great.
Yeah, and then we've got an 18-inch wheel up front, 17-inch wheel in the rear, so a staggered setup, which is good for that retro look. Again, it lends to the style of this motorcycle. Another really nice aspect of this bike for especially beginner riders, which is likely going to be the target audience of this motorcycle, The weight on this bike, 315 pounds they claim, which is very light, and a 29.3-inch seat height, which is very low. So if you're a new rider, this is going to be a very casual bike, not a very stressful bike to throw your leg over, something that you could easily ride even if you haven't done much riding before.
Yeah, this is as approachable as a motorcycle gets, right? ABS, super lightweight, low seat height, and not a lot of power. So if you're, a timid rider, a new rider, and you're looking for something easy to handle, this is definitely going to be that.
Yeah, and easy on the eyes as well. But here's where we get to the issue that at least Alex and I have with this motorcycle and the particular value proposition. So the MSRP on this bike, $5,599, and right now it's available in just the ocean blue, metallic ocean blue and ebony?
Yeah, so there are some other colors which you've probably noticed in this video, and those are going to be the international colors, but here in the States, we're only going to get this metallic ocean blue and ebony.
Yeah, and that's a good looking color. That's not a problem. The problem more so is the price tag, not that under $6,000 MSRP is a ton of money for a motorcycle in general. That is an inexpensive street bike, but the problem is the competition. So Triumph has the Speed 400, as you can tell from the name. Bigger bike, more motor, not going to be something that's such a big, powerful bike that you can't use it as a beginner motorcycle. And those MSRP closer to $5,000. But then you also look at other motorcycles similarly retro styled, like the Royal Enfield Bullet 350 that has an MSRP at $4,500 roundabout. So those are both motorcycles with bigger motors, but still great for learners and less money. So the value proposition here for the price tag and for how much motor you get in this bike, I think it's a tough argument to make for the value.
Yeah, I agree. And, that Triumph Speed 400, not quite the same old school styling as this bike here. The Bullet 350 from Royal Enfield more closely matches what we see here from Kawasaki. $5,600 for a 233cc motorcycle with not many features on it. That's definitely a tough sell.
If I were going to make a recommendation to somebody who is looking at this motorcycle or a similar motorcycle, I would say check out Royal Enfield's lineup because their build quality does appear to be really good. I got a chance to ride one of the Continental GT 650s, and at $5,600 MSRP, this Kawasaki is closing in. It's more expensive, like we said, than the 350 Royal Enfields. It's closing in on the price of the 650 Royal Enfields, which also sound really good. Still, again, have fantastic build quality, very retro, plenty of modern enough features to make it an easy bike to live with. And that, I think, is just better value. So my recommendation would be to go for the Royal Enfield. They've got quite a few motorcycles in their lineup. If I were in the market for something like this, I would go that route.
Yeah, so there you have it. There's everything you need to know about this new W230 from Kawasaki. Availability, if you want to get one of these, they're saying winter 2025, so presumably early next year is when you're going to see these. And like I said at the start of this, some big updates too to Kawasaki's Sport Tours and some of their other bikes, so go check all that out. And we're heading into news season right now. We know we have some big stuff coming in the next couple of weeks, so you're definitely going to want to stay tuned.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more bikes coming, and hopefully, too, we'll get a chance to throw a leg over this W230 and explore it a little bit more. So hopefully that is all upcoming, but definitely more news around the corner.
Thanks for watching. Check out alltfl.com. We'll catch you in the next video.